Oh yeah, let's get started. Hello friends, and friends I've yet to meet. This is TR with you again, and welcome back to another Creator Journal. One of my favorite parts of building a fantasy world is creating mysteries that are bigger than any one character. Every great fantasy universe has them. Examples: the One Ring, obviously, the Elder One, the Infinity Stones. Objects that carry incredible power, but also carry a story. In Legend of Nero, those objects are called the NecroRunes. At first glance, they look nothing more than strange stones etched with ancient symbols. But they aren't simply magical artifacts. Each one contains something far more dangerous: a soul. So today, I'd like to take you behind the scenes and talk about the mythology of the NecroRunes, how they were designed, and why they became one of my favorite pieces of world building in Legend of Nero. So let's get started. So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about the origins. One of the things I wanted early in development of Legend of Nero was for the world to feel old. Not necessarily large, just old, like it's been around for a while. Not ancient because someone says it is, but old because people remember pieces of its history differently. Some mages insist the NecroRunes are real. Others dismiss them as folklore. A villager might swear their grandfather once saw one hidden deep within the mountains, where, another family claims they've passed one down as an heirloom for generations. Nobody completely agrees. And that's exactly how I wanted it, because mysteries become much more interesting when nobody has the full picture. According to the Mage Guild's NecroRune Codex, there have only been 5 recorded edge collisions throughout history. Curiously, only 5 NecroRunes have ever been documented. Each edge event permanently altered the world of Nero and left behind a single mysterious rune. The Codex contains one passage that has always fascinated me, and here it is. Ancient traditions claim that each rune contains a spirit of a hero whose fate became intertwined with the chaos of those events. Of course, the word hero is open to interpretation, and that's where things begin to get a little interesting. So when people hear the word artifact, they usually imagine an object that grants incredible abilities. I wanted the NecroRunes to feel different. The power doesn't come from the stone itself. It comes from the soul that's trapped inside. So every rune has its own personality, its own ambitions, its own memories, its own influence over whoever carries it. So that means no 2 runes behave exactly the same. They're less like magical tools and more like reluctant companions. Or perhaps prisoners. So it's a fascinating idea. Because if a person spends enough time carrying one of those relics, who is influencing whom? Is the wielder controlling the rune, or is the rune quietly changing its host? So let's shift over to design a little bit. So when I began illustrating the runes, I wanted them to feel related, but unmistakably unique. Each one reflects the personality hidden within. Let's start with Branwen. So this is Branwen the Seductress. Branwen's rune has defined edges surrounding an elegant hourglass symbol. At first glance, it appears refined and almost beautiful. But beneath that beauty lies something considerably sharper. Just like Branwen herself. Let's talk about Deceptor the Wraith. The rune appears rough and jagged. Its carved markings resemble a cloaked figure crowned with horns. So no reliable account has ever described what Deceptor actually looks like. Only the influence left behind, and sometimes that's even more unsettling. Let's shift over to Tappin. So Tappin the Grog. Tappin's rune barely looks like a magical artifact at all. It really resembles an ordinary chunk of stone that someone may overlook in a garden. It's heavy, it's crude, it's brutal, It's exactly the kind of object a legendary warrior might leave behind. Next is Changler the Imp. Changler's rune is smoother than the others. It's rounded, calculated, almost elegant. Historians believe Changler served as a political advisor rather than a warrior. So I wanted the rune to reflect intelligence over strength. And let's be honest, sometimes words are more dangerous than swords. Xaviera, the dragon. Finally, there's Xaviera, perhaps the greatest mystery of them all. Some historical accounts describe Xaviera as a legendary dragon slayer. Others insist Xaviera was half human, half dragon. Some even disagree whether Xaviera was a man or a woman. Nobody can say for certain. One thing, however, appears consistently throughout Nero's history. If Xaviera's rune is ever found, the consequences could be catastrophic. Okay, let's shift just a little bit over to the Edge. So throughout Blood and Oaths, Gaia repeatedly references a mysterious place known only as the Edge. She never fully explains what it is, and neither will I, at least not yet. What readers do know is that every recorded Edge collision created one of the NecroRunes. Whether the Edge is a place, a moment in time, or something entirely different, remains one of the oldest mysteries in the world of Nero. Sometimes the unknown is far more interesting than the answer. Let's talk about the 5 rune laws. So, over time, I realized that if these relics truly existed, someone would eventually attempt to study them. That led me to writing what became known as the Rune Laws of Nero. The Mages Guild recorded 5 observations. The first, a rune only influences its host while carried upon their person. Second, every rune contains a soul trapped during an edge collision. Third, the personality of that soul shapes the corruption experienced by its bearer. Fourth, combining multiple runes dramatically increases instability. And finally, the 5th law. Should all 5 runes be brought together, catastrophic power will be unleashed. Whether that's prophecy or simple speculation, no one truly knows. So let me leave you with a few closing thoughts. As a writer and a world builder, I've always tried to create lore that feels grounded within the rules of its own universe. The NecroRunes were never meant to be simple plot devices. They're pieces of history, fragments of forgotten lives, warnings left behind by something much larger than anyone living in Nero fully understands. Were they created intentionally? Were they born from some unimaginable cosmic accident? Or are they merely reminders that history never truly disappears? Perhaps one day we'll discover the truth, but until then, some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. But honestly, where's the fun in that? Thanks so much for supporting independent authors and artists. I'll see you next time. Cheers.